Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I just gently remind the Energy Secretary that it's his job to answer questions from MPs on behalf of constituents. So I'll ask the same question I asked him last time. If the UK became net zero tomorrow, by how much would it reduce the Earth's temperature by?
Well. Grab your popcorn and adjust your mon less, folks, because what we witnessed at the latest PMQs wasn't just politics. It was a full-blown roast session with a generous sprinkle of eco-chaos, industrial drama, and a tiny splash of, dare I say, confusion. If you've ever wondered what it would look like if the Avengers assembled, but instead of superpowers, they all brought economic forecasts, oil refinery woes, and 800,000 green jobs, then congratulations. You've just tuned in to Britain's favorite reality show, Parliament Live. Before we show you the video footage, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great. Thank you so much. Now, back to the video.
The Minister to his place. Talk about industry. The Lindsey oil refinery in Lincolnshire is in receivership and is being sold at the moment. But the workers there, thousands and thousands of jobs are at risk, and they are desperately concerned that DESNZ and the official receiver are not running a proper process, frustrating potential bidders for the whole site. So will the Minister, in his new job, commit to helping ensure that the whole site is sold to a successful bidder?
Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The one thing that the honourable member said is that thousands and thousands of jobs are at risk in this country, and they're at risk from the climate-denying policies of Reform. The Institution of Chemical Engineers reported last week that there are 800,000 jobs in the green economy in this country, thousands and thousands in the constituencies of every single member in this House, and his party are putting that investment at risk.
Andrew Bowley, Shadow Minister.
Mr. Speaker. How many jobs have to be sacrificed on the altar of this Secretary of State's vainglorious eco-zealotry before this government acknowledges the utter destruction to the UK's industrial base that is being wreaked by policies driven by an out-of-touch green lobby that has captured what is laughably still called the Department for Energy Security?
Minister.
Well, it's no wonder, Mr. Speaker, that there's so much laughter around the chamber. The policies of the previous Conservative government saw industry decline. They were prepared to let industry decline because fundamentally they do not believe in industry, and now we find that they don't believe in climate science. Whereas on this side of the House, we know that we can achieve decarbonisation in this country by winning investment from industry, investment that's going in all around the world. And with the policies that we have, we're giving industry the confidence to invest in creating jobs here in the UK.
Andrew Bowley.
Mr. Speaker, on their watch, 2 oil refineries have closed in just 1 year, with Jim Ratcliffe warning of 1 million job losses to come. Thousands are being laid off in the North Sea as companies divest themselves of assets and investment dries up. Factories closing, plants shutting down. It's no wonder the head of Unite the Union is calling for the Secretary of State to be sacked. Now, we know the Prime Minister tried and failed that, so short of that, will they instead consider our plans, which would save industry and jobs, scrapping the Climate Change Act, scrapping the levies, scrapping the windfall tax, and putting cheap energy first?
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, I'd like to thank the Minister for reminding the House that with the litany of errors that we've had to pick up when we've come into office, literally addressing my portfolio is filled with companies that have struggled so much over the last 10 years. But what they find now is that they have a partner in government that will work with them to attract the investment to build the jobs in the UK. And if the opposition don't like those jobs, then continue as they are.
Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. May I just gently remind the Energy Secretary that it's his job to answer questions from MPs on behalf of constituents. So I'll ask the same question I asked him last time. If the UK became net zero tomorrow, by how much would it reduce the Earth's temperature by?
I'll give him the answer I gave him last time, Mr. Speaker. Action by the UK makes a difference here, but of course we're 1% of global emissions. But the truth is that our action also means other countries act. What's the evidence for that? What's the evidence for that? Because it actually happened. The Climate Change Act passed. 60 other countries passed their own versions of it. Net zero signed into law in this country, Mr. Speaker. Now 80% of global GDP covered by net zero. That's the difference the UK makes. I believe in Britain. He doesn't.
He doesn't. Now picture the scene. Richard Tye, reformist-in-chief, strides in like he's got a hot tip from an insider at the Linz oil refinery. And what's he bringing to the floor? Thousands, no, thousands and thousands of jobs hanging by a thread in Lincolnshire. It's not a drill, folks. The refinery is in receivership, and Tye is waving his parliamentary arms like a man who's just watched his roast dinner slide off the kitchen counter. "Where's the process?" he cries. "Why are bidders being frustrated?" A reasonable question, one would think. And then, boom, the Labour minister leaps in with all the energy of a man who just got handed the AUX chord and decided to play the climate change remix. "Oh yes," he says, "jobs are at risk, but not because of us. Oh no, it's because of those climate deniers in Reform." Now hold on a tick. Tye just wanted to know if someone could check on the oil refinery's eBay listing, not launch the climate inquisition. And then came the mic drop, 800,000 jobs in the green economy, that's right. According to the Institution of Chemical Engineers, it's green jobs galore out there. Apparently, there are enough wind turbine maintenance gigs to employ every man, woman, and marmalade-loving Paddington in the land. But just as we were adjusting to the vision of Britain powered by hydrogen and hopeful optimism, in strides Andrew Bowie, like a man who's had enough of everyone's nonsense. Bowie, looking like he's just finished editing a very stern letter to the editor, demanded, to know how many jobs need to be sacrificed at the altar of Ed Miliband's eco-dreams before someone says, "Hold on, is this windmill business getting out of hand?" He even called the whole thing the glorious ecolitary, which sounds like either a rare bird species or a Coldplay album. Either way, he wasn't having it. He described a Britain in decline, industry being wrecked by policies that sound more like horoscopes than actual strategy. Out-of-touch green lobby, he says, shaking his head like a disappointed father whose teenager just announced they're becoming a crystal healer. But our Labour minister, cool as a cucumber left in an unplugged fridge, wasn't flustered. Oh no. He took the accusations and turned them into a jazz solo of climate defense. You see, the previous Conservative government, he claimed, was all about letting industry decline, left it out in the rain like a soggy chippy. They don't believe in industry, he declares, as if that's the new conspiracy podcast. Meanwhile, Labour, they're riding the wave of international investment, turning every solar panel into a symbol of hope and every wind farm into a job-creating disco. But Bowie wasn't finished yet. Oh no, the man came back swinging. Apparently, on Labour's watch, 2 oil refineries had shut down in just 1 year. Factories closing, plants shutting, the North Sea becoming less of an economic powerhouse and more of a cold, salty puddle. Even Jim Ratcliffe was quoted, yes, Jim Ratcliffe, Britain's richest bloke with a suspiciously neat haircut, warning of 1 million job losses. That's a number so large it makes your head wobble. Unite the Union, not exactly a branch of the Tory fan club, was apparently calling for the Secretary of State to be given the boot. In football terms, that's basically the red card and a stadium ban. And what does Bowie suggest? Scrap the Climate Change Act. Scrap the levies. Scrap the windfall tax. Scrap, well, just about everything except the office chairs. And instead, let's go all in on cheap energy. Who needs the sun when you've got a shovel and nostalgia? Now back comes Labour, smiling like someone who's just won a game of Monopoly despite owing £600 in rent. Ah yes, he says, thank you for that delightful reminder of the mess we inherited. Do you know what I find in my new job every morning? A to-do list from the last 10 years labeled urgent, probably on fire. But not to worry, dear Britain. Labour is now the partner the industry has been dreaming of in its lonely LinkedIn inbox. Together they're attracting investment, building jobs, and painting the future a delightful shade of solar panel grey. And just when you think it can't get more surreal, in glides Lee Anderson of Reform UK, like a man who's turned up to a wedding in steel-toe boots just in case there's a debate. Now Lee is nothing if not persistent. He's asked the Energy Secretary before, and by Jove he'll ask again, if the UK hits net zero tomorrow, by how much will the Earth's temperature drop? It's the kind of question that sounds simple, but is secretly wrapped in several layers of, oh no, here we go again. And bless him, Ed Miliband gave the same answer he gave last time, because sometimes repetition is key. Well, we're only 1% of global emissions, but the point is, when we act, others follow like ducks. Climate ducks. He went on to explain that the Climate Change Act inspired over 60 other countries to pass their own versions. Net zero has now been adopted by 80% of global GDP. That's right, 80. Apparently, when the UK takes action, the rest of the world says, "Ooh, jolly good idea, chaps. Let's do that too." And Ed, bless his carbon-neutral socks, rounded it off with a jab, "I believe in Britain." He doesn't. Now, let's pause here, because we've all just witnessed something truly magical. A Reform MP, a Tory, and a Labour minister walked into Parliament. Not the start of a bad joke, but an actual event, and managed to turn one oil refinery question into a nationwide debate on the very soul of climate policy. You can't make this stuff up. On one side, we've got cries of job loss, energy prices, and economic doom if the green machine rolls on unchallenged. On the other, we've got promises of green jobs, foreign investment, and becoming a global leader in saving the planet, one electric scooter at a time. And somewhere in the middle is poor Richard Tye, who just wanted someone to check on the Linz refinery and ended up getting dragged into the great climate war of 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, this is British politics at its finest: passionate speeches, mildly flustered ministers, and a climate debate that somehow feels like both an academic thesis and a pub argument happening simultaneously. We've got graphs, unions, the spectre of Jim Ratcliffe, and the lingering question: how much will the Earth's temperature actually drop if we do this thing? Here's the thing: whether you think net zero is the path to glory or a road paved with power cuts and wind farms that confuse pigeons, one thing is clear: nobody's short on opinions. And if you came here looking for a clear answer, well, sorry to disappoint, but you're going to need a strong cup of tea and maybe a whiteboard. But let's give credit where it's due. Every MP who spoke gave us a slice of the big picture. Tye gave us the industrial heartbeat. Bowie reminded us what happens when policies become passion projects. Anderson kept asking the kind of question you might hear from a neighbor peering over the hedge. And Miliband, well, he gave us the TED Talk version. Believe in Britain, he says, but also believe in thermometers and the butterfly effect, apparently. So, where does this leave us? Somewhere between a factory closure and a solar-powered dream. But if you ask me, the most British thing of all is how we all collectively manage to argue about global temperatures using phrases like the glorious equalitary and windfall tax are democracy. Where the stakes are high, the microphones are always on, and everyone's got a better plan. If you enjoyed this chaotic journey through climate, industry, and awkward parliamentary banter, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell icon. Because next week, who knows, maybe we'll find out what happened to the actual refinery, or maybe someone will just bring up cheese exports. You never know with these lot. Cheers for watching, and remember, believe in Britain or don't. Either way, someone will mention it at Prime Minister's Questions.